Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another episode of Indie Game Friday, where each week I take a look at a different independent role-playing game. This week I was fortunate enough to be sent a review copy for a game that's been out for a while on Steam, but recently also became available on PS4 and Xbox One. Developed by Witching Hour Studios and published by Ysbird Games, Masquerada, Songs and Shadows is currently available on Steam for $19.99 US. Masquerada, Songs and Shadows is an overhead, isometric view action RPG that focuses strongly on lore, story, and characterization over statistical complexity and features a real-time combat system that can be paused for tactical decision-making. Rather than a full loot and full character advancement system, character improvement is instead focused around the use and improvement of supernatural masks called masquerines, which grant your characters elemental combat abilities. The story starts with a tutorial level telling of a man named Gavar who breaks into a place called the White Spire in an attempted rebellion. But the main game actually picks up some years later, with Cicero Gavar, the rebel's brother, having been recalled to the city after a long exile. A former inspector, he discovers that things are not well within the city, and he has been assigned to get to the root of a disappearance. This all takes place against a high fantasy backdrop that incorporates the aesthetics of Renaissance-era Venice with a dash of magic as technology flair. Power rests with the Masquerada, those who possess enchanted masks, while the ordinary people who do not have them are considered lower status. Even aside from this stratification, there are different factions and different factions within said factions, all while the same rebellion the main character's brother was involved with continues unabated. All of this goes down while you're not only investigating the disappearance, but also what that person who disappeared was researching when he disappeared. This makes for the sense of a multi-tiered investigation that is part mystery, part political maneuvering, and part war story. Play proceeds rather simply. You and whatever companions you have maneuver around beautiful 2D maps, encountering events, lore, and then quest goals. If you encounter enemies, the combat takes place right there on the same map, and is conducted in real time. You may pause combat at any moment to order your companions around, or you may focus on controlling one and let the AI take care of the rest. Each character can be set with certain AI events that end up being pretty effective for the most part, although sometimes characters will run off to who knows where. But mostly it allows you to fine-tune certain of your companions to certain roles if you take the time to do so. I, for one, found that the default scripts were responsive enough, but if you customize for a particular companion having a different sort of masquerine than they expect, it may help to change their AI a bit to adapt to it. And the masquerines are the primary way of advancing characters. Each character does have a class defined by their style, but the majority of the customization comes from assigning skill points to their equipped masquerine. Each masquerine may be associated with one of the four elements, and then within that element they have different skills. Each skill can be improved, and although each skill's improvement tree isn't terribly complex, some choices could modify how that particular skill is used enough just to make it feel truly different. During combat, a character's vitality shows just how much damage that they can take before being knocked out, but many characters also have focus, which serves as a sort of quickly regenerating defense that must be bypassed or eliminated before damage moves on to vitality. Characters can have a melee auto attack, a default ability based on the element of their masquerine, and a series of activatable skills based on what they've learned or improved in that particular mask. Many of these mask abilities take mask points to use, and each class, or stance rather, has a different method of regaining those points. For the most part, each character is focused in just one stance, but the main character at least can improve a skill called Maestro that allows him to switch stances. Once a certain number of points have been spent, a special mask ability becomes available that can be used to drastically impact a battlefield. The battles are fast-paced and do require some thought to go through efficiently. Attention must be paid to positioning, and flanking a target can drastically improve damage output. Furthermore, there's an elemental tag system where certain skills tag an opponent with a particular elemental tag, and if that opponent is then hit with certain other skills later, they may have additional effects based on those tags. This usually results in some sort of stun or other crowd control effect. As you complete battles, skill points are earned, which may be used to increase skills. You may also find the occasional additional masquerine, which can be decorated and added to your repertoire. In this way, the general loot and equipment management mechanics of other RPGs has been unified into a single mechanic with character advancement for a streamlined gaming experience. In terms of graphics and sound, Masquerada has a high degree of polish and excellent artistry. Characters are 3D rendered in a cel-shaded style that evokes an almost comic book style look, rendered onto a background that is locked in the typical isometric view. Cutscenes often take the whole comic book stylings a bit further, with hand-drawn illustrations and a series of panels that are revealed one by one. If you don't like that particular stylized look, you'll probably have issues with the game all the way through, but if you can bear it or enjoy it, the consistency of presentation can't be dismissed. The music, likewise, is excellent, but what really wowed me was the quality of the extensive voice acting. Much of the game is fully voice acted, minus the lore tidbits, and uses some top-notch talent. Arguably better voiceover talent than many AAA games use. Matthew Mercer and Jennifer Hale are among them. It all combines to give a sense of being inside an interactive animation rather than a game, and if you thirst for lore, there's a lore screen that further expands the various maps and places you meet, with some optional lore checkpoints scattered around the map for more information. It doesn't dump everything on you from the beginning, but rather eases you in, with notes that can quickly become more detailed as you uncover more information about a particular area. The story is involving, the presentation superb, the combat responsive, and the lore deep, but I do have some issues with the game. It seems a little bit too streamlined in places for me. Combat is efficient, yes, but with the AI scripts and the simplicity of the positioning and skill rotation, it can feel a little bit too simple. Indeed, if you're used to micromanaging combat, you have to have the AI do next to nothing, or it will simply overwrite what you have told characters to do as soon as that you leave focus with them. Certainly, the positioning and tag-related aspects can provide some complexity, but just not enough for me, and perhaps not enough for some other people. The unification of character advancement into the Masquerade system does take equipment management out of the equation, but some people like that. Also, sometimes it feels like many areas, beautiful as they may be, are largely superfluous, with only one or two routes to an end goal that must be advanced towards, with only a little bit of extra lore as the reward for going out of your way. With a city and lore as deep as it is, I would have really liked more opportunities to actually explore the city and dig into it, but I suppose that would detract from the overall story. It is that age-old balance between allowing players to discover their own story by interacting with a rich world, or limiting them to the story that you've written. Some games lose themselves by offering too many options, making their story irrelevant. Masquerade pretty much goes to the other extreme, making the story extremely interesting, the NPCs that you encounter, and even the people on the street having conversations that are really worth listening to, but it restricts other things to the point where you don't really feel like you can be part of the world. Not really. Instead, you're just reading these long text entries, essentially a guidebook of what is going on, without really having the opportunity to experience it, and then moving from checkpoint to checkpoint along a preset path. To Masquerade's credit, that preset path, that story, is excellent. I have not experienced writing of this caliber for quite some time. And between that and the presentation, I can easily recommend this to most people. With the following caveat. If you like exploration, and if you like extensive character choices, or even if you like managing a lot of details in your RPG character, you're probably going to find this one frustrating. Whether that frustration is too much to put up with for such an excellent setting and story, that's going to be a decision you have to weigh yourself. If you can deal with the simplifications, or if you actually enjoy simplified RPGs, then you will be in for a wonderful and rich storytelling experience with this game. And on that note, I think I'll leave it here. I will put links to the game's Steam page and website in the description below. This has been the RPG Crawler with Indie Game Friday, Masquerada, Songs and Shadows. As always, if you like what you've seen, please leave a like, comment if you've got feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. If you're feeling particularly generous, I do have a Patreon at patreon.com/rpgcrawler, which goes to helping support the channel. Until next time, take care and goodbye.